Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I'm going to be starting a new project today. It's going to be quite a long one, and what I'm going to do is make lots of little clips coming back and showing you the various stages, and rather than film the whole thing. But it just helps to keep me going when if I'm making a little film like this. Helps to keep me going through and actually finish the project, because I'm terrible at starting things and never quite finishing. Anyway, this is one that's been, let me show you what I'm up to. This is one that's been on the table, as it were, for a long time. So a friend of mine, Chris, is a photographer, and he takes these amazing pictures, let me get that out of the way, and they're local scenery, and I'll tell you what, it makes me look at our surroundings with a new pair of eyes. That's just beautiful. That's quite close to where they live at the moment, near to where I used to live. I know where it is, and it's just made it so beautiful. I'm assuming this is dawn rather than sunset, and I'm going to be taking some liberties with this. Now what Chris did was he brought me, you might remember if you've watched my channel for any length of time, I showed 3 photos that Chris bought me at one point, and he had them printed. So this is a 3 size, beautiful quality, kind of with a matte sort of finish, this photo paper. So he'd had them printed for me and just said, you can do what you like with them, do your thing with them, paint over them, collage over them, whatever, gesso over them, I don't care, do what you like with them. And I've been really nervous of getting started, but I had a very definite idea of what I wanted to do with each of them, and this one straight away I just thought dragons. All of them, all 3 pictures have a kind of magical quality to them, and I think with doing the recent fairy tale collaboration, that sort of got me thinking about it again, really. A little while ago I did a video showing how I'd started working up some little sketches. I treated myself to this book by Sandra Staple, which sort of talks you through how to get the basic shapes of the dragons and the little details of, look at some of her illustrations. Beautiful, but not really my style. This is a bit too cute for me. I don't want them really snarly and nasty either. So yeah, I've done some more sketching. So this is the first stage. One of the great things about this, the texture of this paper, is that I'm going to be able to use, I experimented with a tiny bit down here just where I thought it wouldn't show, just to try. It will take coloured pencils. I'm not sure how well it will react to wet media if I decide to go that way, but I'm kind of thinking I might like the control of coloured pencils for this one. Anyway, so I've started doing some more sketches in this book. Here were a couple of this was the initial layout I was thinking of for this. So I'm imagining a larger dragon in the foreground here, a little nest of eggs, or maybe just a dragon egg, and then the other dragon off hunting in the background. So that's my sort of rough sketch for that. That's a sort of a bit too fierce a dragon. Maybe, I don't know, maybe one of them would look like that and one would be a bit gentler. I wasn't really pleased with that one. That's too fierce for me. But I don't want cutesy either. That's the kind of eye I'm going for. I did a whole lot of dragon eyes before on a previous video, and this is the one that I like. It's almost it's somewhere between a lizard and a cat, I think. So I'm using sort of cat's eyes and also references to lizards and birds as well. So I mean, you can't actually find a photographic reference of a dragon, obviously. I like this face. That's quite fierce, but it's not, yeah. So I quite like that one. And here are a couple of I like this face shape. So this is how Sandra tells you how to break down the shapes. She uses a lot of circles and then just joins them together to create the to give you the structure of the face, which makes it really easy. Honestly, it is really easy to do. I've never tried drawing a dragon before, and I was really quite nervous about it, but I was quite happy with how they came out. I think this was the first time I'd done that. I think that was my first attempt as well. So, and then she gives you lots of different kinds of back legs you can do, and again using these circles, and you create this basic shape, and then you elaborate on it, and then you shade it or colour it or whatever. So for my sketchbook, I've done the basic shape that we start with and then shown how to elaborate on it so that I can go back and refer to this later. This is different shapes of forelimbs. Now, some of these make you think of, that's the other photo reference, of course, that is dinosaurs. We don't have photos of dinosaurs, but we have photos of what we can reasonably assume dinosaurs would have looked like. Cats, birds, lizards and dinosaurs. Here's some feet, different kinds of feet, wings. Struggled the most with the wings. It's quite hard to get that structure, and I've used a lot of artistic liberty in my sketches. And then starting to do some figures, so it gets a bit more complicated. So this was a position I thought of for the dragon in the front, but decided it would just take up almost the whole page really. And then a sleeping one with the eggs in there, but again there isn't the space. But I might draw some of them later anyway. So, a couple ideas for the ones flying, either flying away or coming back to the nest. This one's holding a fish. But again, you start with these circles and join them together. Yeah, so this is another one. Could be just coming into land. It's holding the fish. Quite like that one. I might be using that sort of shape, I think. So then the next thing is to just roughly start mapping out my composition. Here's the sort of grassy bit in the foreground here. Here's the head of the larger dragon with her ears there, or his. In my fictitious dragon world, they both go off to hunt and take turns. And there's the one that's been off hunting, coming back with a fish. Here's these sort of what I'm going to use as mountains. It's not actually mountains, we don't live near to mountains, but what I'm going to do is, because this is obviously the sun hasn't started to show yet, the light's just starting to come up and it's catching the underneath of the clouds there. I actually ended up looking at this photo with my husband, and he helped me to work out kind of where my light would be coming from. Because as he pointed out, at this stage, it's only going to be really quite high up things that are going to be catching any light. So what I'm going to do is cheat a bit and just add just the beginnings of a big red sun coming up. It'll be bigger than it probably would be in real life, but this is a fantasy land. So that means that then more light would be coming out, and therefore I can let the light catch the edges of my dragons. So it'll certainly catch that dragon, and I might even have a couple extra dragons kind of flying in the background. I think I've sketched them in somewhere. Yeah, so just sort of flying in the background like these, as if there's another pair of dragons sort of miles away in a different territory. I'm assuming they'd be territorial in the way that birds are. So yeah, that's kind of roughed out my composition. So now what I need to do is just start drawing this dragon, and I need to draw it in quite a lot of detail and then do it again on here, because I don't want to do it on here and go wrong and ruin this, because I've only got this one. So yeah, I'm going to just do that in pencil at this stage, but when I come to adding colour, I think coloured pencils are going to be at least my starting point. I can always try a little bit of it here where I'm going to end up covering that up, but what I cover up I'm probably going to put back in. I love this all this vegetation, good grasses and things that you can see in the front. So I'm probably going to trace those off, and what I go over I will draw back in again. And the colours, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick. It doesn't, looking at my screen, it doesn't look quite as vivid as it does here, but obviously you've got the lovely sort of peachy, pinky oranges, and you've got this hint of, and you've got obviously all the lovely soft greys and a hint of green here in the front, like a grey green in the front here, and then you've got this hint of a sort of a teal there, so it's the classic teal and orange really. So I'm going to be accentuating that. Probably my dragons are going to be the sort of blue green, but they'll be catching the sun, so they'll get a kind of coppery glow off them, and I might actually use some copper foil on them as well, or metallic pens or something like that. Yeah, so that's my plans at this stage. What I need to do now is that I'm not going to film the whole process. I think it's going to be really, really long, this one, but I'm going to start doing a better sketch now, and then I'll come back and show you that. and this will just be a little kind of montage of my different stages. I'm thinking Chris might be quite interested to see how it develops as well, because he's really good at drawing and stuff himself as well, actually. I wonder if he'll ever go at drawing on any of his own photos. You should do it, Chris. Right, I've got a bit further with my dragon. It's still very hot here in the UK, really boiling. I'm actually sitting here in only this t-shirt. It's lucky you can't see any further down. It's not a pretty sight. I've been having fiery dreams, and I don't know if it's because of the heat or because I've been doing all these dragons. But anyway, let's see how I'm getting on. I finished with the book for now. It's been really, really useful. It won't be far away if I need it again, but I think I've got what I need from that for the time being. I've done a little bit more on my sketchbook. Not any more actual drawings, but I've been just experimenting with some different colours and how to do the scales and how I might catch the light on the edge of the dragon. This is kind of the colours that I'm going to use. So I picked a whole lot of greens and greenish blues, right from the lightest ones I could find to the darkest ones I could find, and then I picked out some sort of peachy oranges, and that's the nearest to red, but it's a very orangey red. Also there's like a black, a couple of greys and a white in there as well, and a couple of, I don't know, 3 or 4, here you go, metallics. So there's the ones there, and that's the gold. I really like that gold. I could also use foil or metallic pens. I've got all sorts of options there. I've got those pencils. I've got it in this basket because I've had them downstairs in the evenings. It's so much cooler down there as well. It's just a couple of degrees hotter up here. So my next stage, actually my next stage was to do some better sketches. So I decided I didn't quite like the position of this one. I like where it is, but I wanted it slightly more upright. So this is my sort of working sketch. I've got a couple of other dragons off in the distance. Here's my egg and my foreground dragon, which will probably have a few more spikes and things, but this is just the basic shape. I've just put her ears in. And then this is the other dragon. This is her mate who's been off hunting. They take turns. So yeah, this dragon's coming home with a fish. Obviously, my husband did point out the fish must be quite a big fish. It is a big fish. It's my fantasy world. It's a big fish. I brought the sun up a bit, like I explained before, so I can have it so it'll catch the light here and here, I'm hoping, and across the top of the egg. And then I decided to do this one again. So here's my other sketch of this one with a little bit more detail and a bit more of an idea of where I'll put the scales and things like that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this Frisk Trace Down. So this is like a graphite transfer paper. It's a bit, you use it like you use carbon paper, but it's not waxy like carbon paper, so you can just rub it out. It's just like graphite. It's just easier than using tracing paper. But for the small dragon, I am going to use a piece of tracing paper because I'm not actually sure which way round I want it to be, and also I want to be able to move its position on here and just decide where I want it. So that's going to be my next step. Trace that all off and place them on the page, and then the really scary part comes. We have to start actually adding colour. Scary but really fun. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm just terrified of ruining it. Well, hey ho, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Right, I'll come back and show you that next step. Right, well, this was more of a palaver than I'd been hoping, but I have finally managed to get my basic forms sketched out on there. I used this light blue colour because it shows up against both the darker and lighter parts of the picture. Few things that I wish I'd known before I started. These marks, you can see or where I try to use my putty rubber to just lift a little bit of extra graphite, which I wish I'd left there because I've got this sticky mess to sort out now, but I'm hoping I will be able to sort that later. It may be partly that the weather is so hot that my putty rubber is really sticky, and this yellow one that I used is particularly sticky, so I might have been alright if I'd have gone straight in with this one. And then I went in with this one to try and lift the yellow that had got stuck on this photo paper, and you can see it lifted some of it, but then I had pencily hands and they all, oh. So there's the mark that was already there. I think is going to be okay. I think that will be lost in the final thing. And then this is where I learned the lesson that masking tape does not come off. This really low tack blue tape, it doesn't come off without pulling that up. So I think what I'm going to do is end up putting some little rocks and things about, so it'll get hidden in the end, but it's annoying. Probably what I'm going to do now is just put a kind of an initial layer of base colours down here, just to get me started, and then I'll go back and start to add some of the kind of scales and things like I've indicated there, and then I can layer again to add that sort of texture and everything. If I find that, because I don't know how well I'll be able to layer on this paper, it's got a bit of a texture to it, but if need be, what I can do is a layer of a transparent gesso, and then I can work over it again, because that'll give me a bit of extra tooth to work into. I've sort of mapped out roughly where the sun's going to be as well there. In some ways, although these marks are annoying, at least I've kind of broken it now, so it's a bit less daunting. So once I've got that base layer on, I'll come back and show you how that's going. Right, I've started working on this. You can see it's quite hard to get a really dense coverage of the pencil, and here you can still see the background to it. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to build up as much of a layer of pencil as I can and try and get more sort of darks and lights in, so like start to get the sort of shading here and everything. And then I am going to have to do a layer of transparent gesso to give me enough tooth to build up some more layers of the pencil. And if that doesn't work, I could still end up having to gouache over them, but at least I've got a base to work into. So yeah, we'll see. So next thing, I'm going to leave this one for now. I'm kind of practicing on this one really. Yeah, can you tell I'm making it up as I go along? I will keep coming back and showing you stage by stage. Right, I've decided it's definitely not working going straight onto this photo with the pencils, so I'm giving it a base coat of gouache first, and then I'll go in with pencils for the detail, and if that doesn't work, I'll still have to use a layer of the transparent gesso. So for this bit, I've just mixed some white with a tiny bit of green and a tiny bit of this sort of turquoisey blue. This is gouache that I'm using. I might regret it being gouache because I won't be able to put the transparent gesso over the top without smearing it. But hey ho, I've started now. Oh dear, this is all going ever so well. Not. So I'm using the gouache paints that we got in the last Artful box, and it also came with these brushes, so yeah, they'll be really good for doing tiny details in this. There's this really tiny one, this great big long one that will be good for doing long lines. It holds a lot of paint, kind of like a bigger brush really. And then there's just quite a small round one, number 3, and then the angled one, which I'm going to use for filling the sort of larger areas and just getting into, you can just block quite precisely kind of into little angles and corners and things. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna I haven't wasted my time putting the colour pencils on because it's given me some idea of where I want which colours. I'm going to start blue on the wings and go blue green on the body down to a really bright green for the tail, and I'll probably kind of do the same here, and then a bit paler on the sort of chest and tummy and kind of thing, and here. I can probably then mix up similar to this colour that's here and add back in some of this foliage once I've finished with the egg, and maybe then add some extra sort of depth in here as well. The gouache seems to be going over the photo print pretty well, so far so good. I'll come back and show you in a bit. I thought it'd be good to show you kind of what I'm doing. It's working out quite well, just painting straight onto this paper and actually mixing and blending kind of on the paper. It seems to be standing up to it pretty well. So I want to go more into yellow as I go down this leg, and then I'll go more towards blue as I go up there, and then totally blue into the wing. I think, given how this is working so far, I'm going to block most of this in with the gouache, add a little bit of shading as I go along, and then go back with the colour pencil over the top to add the sort of scale details and things, and then probably paint again. I know that the colour pencils will work all right over the gouache. I should have just done it this way in the first place. It looks way better already. I was just too scared to put paint on it. Here's where I'm gonna leave it for this evening. I think I've got a good basis there. I'll let that completely dry. This paper's taking the gouache really well, even though I've been putting it on quite wet in places. Yeah, so I'll probably do another layer of paint in the morning and cover up some of these bits, put the sun in. So I will be back in the morning and show you the next stage. It's the next morning. This is all dried up beautifully. I am so impressed. So I must ask Chris what this paper was. It must be specifically for printing photos on. I'm so impressed with how well it's taken all this water. It's hardly buckled at all. I didn't have it taped down. I couldn't have it taped down. I needed to move it around too much, and trying to sort of film little bits of it as well. You can see bits that, like where that mark was, that I thought was probably something greasy from my husband's dinner. That's come through, but actually I think I might add to it in the end. I'll just it'll become a kind of a, you know, a scaliness or something on the dragon's face. This is obviously completely dried now. Gouache does dry pretty quickly anyway, and it I read somewhere the other day, and it seems to be true, that the dark colours dry darker and the light colours dry, or dark colours will dry. I'm going to have to check myself now, hang on. Yeah, so I've double checked that I'm not telling you rubbish. So the dark colours will tend to lighten and the light colours will tend to darken, yes, which does fit what I'm finding. So I want to lighten up some of the highlight areas a little bit, and like where the wings are, the sort of membrane in between the bones of the wings, I want that to be lighter. I'll add some of the darkness back in as shading where around the bones, like I've done here. But if I start with this, it's starting too dark, so I need to just do another coat of that. But you know, it doesn't add much. You know, it's quite a smooth, flat, matte layer, as one of the lovely things I think about gouache. So, you know, if it goes wrong, even if I do my pencil work and find I still don't like it, I can still paint over and do it again, much like you do with acrylic. But it will take the pencils better, and I will have this matte finish. So I'm going to keep blocking in. Don't think that'll take me too long now. I imagine about half an hour, and then I'll be ready to start with my first lot of pencil work. I will be coming back with paints to add in some of this vegetation in the foreground here. I love how the egg came out. I'm still thinking I want to add a metallic kind of touch here and there, but I'm not quite sure at the moment how I'm going to do it, and I'd like a little bit of something metallic on the egg as well. I might put some cracks on as if it's beginning. That's what this one's looking all excited about. In my head, this is the female one. She just looks gentler, and I know that's a bit stereotypical, but hey, you know, I'm 61, I'm allowed to be. I'm allowed to be old-fashioned. Yeah, I might just have a little bit of a crack starting to happen. This is what they're looking so excited about. And I just want to catch the tips, the edges of the wings here and the tips of these spines. Obviously her face is catching the light that way. It'll be slightly lighter on this side, and it's slightly lighter here. I might also use some pan pastels as well and just deepen up the colour here and there, just intensify this kind of orange glow. At the moment I must admit it's looking a little bit cartoony, but hey, I don't mind, I'm still pleased with it. I'm letting it take its own course really a little bit. And I've just got the white, that sort of turquoise blue, I think they call it kingfisher, the ultramarine, some of this green, that's kind of a, I don't know, well, they called it grassy green, which is probably fair enough. That lovely bright yellow there, and a kind of yellow ochre sort of colour that I think might come into play with the eyes. I might mix a little bit of it with the white to get a more realistic kind of colour for the horns and the bones and things, a little bit on the egg. So that's kind of what I've got in my head. I will just film a little bit of this, but not much. So I just think otherwise this video is going to get ridiculously long. So yeah, I'll just film a little bit just to show you the kind of thing I'm up to, and that'll be enough, I think, for you to put up with. Let's start with this sun. It's incredible how well the paint works on this photo print. This would be a massive sun. It's not realistic, I know, but this is my own fictitious land, so again, I'm allowed. I love how you can kind of mix the colours actually on the paper as well, just sort of blend them together. It's a lovely set of colours, this artful set actually. Did I show these at the beginning? Yeah, it's good range of colours, and they're nice. It's a nice generous size of tube as well. Yeah, I think the other thing that pan pastels might be good for is just creating a kind of a haze around the sun, perhaps backlighting the dragon a little bit. I'm not sure. It's quite good for doing that kind of thing, and I think it will work quite well on this surface too. So I'm finding I'm mixing now just by putting a tiny dot of the colour onto the wet paint that I've already done, and just sort of mixing it on there just seems to work quite well. Well, I'll just leave that to dry for now. That'll do for my first coat, I think. I guess I'm going to be the same kind of colours as the sun, which will be a nice sort of a nice balance. Lighter colour blue for that for the wings. So I'm going to keep on blocking in those colours, and when I finish that and I'm ready to go into the pencil stage, I will come back again. Okay, so I got a bit more carried away painting into the landscape than I intended to, but I don't think I'm going to do any more. I want some of the original photograph to be still there, so I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to make it look like as the sun comes up, more colours being added to it. And yeah, and I kind of merged this started because I was trying to cover up that little mark that I made and it just ended up spreading it, and this started because I was trying to just like do that sort of backlit kind of horizon and just got carried away. So there we go, I just let it do its thing. So I've now got the base that I wanted, and I will just start going in with the colour pencil details now. Okay, I'll come back when I've started with the pencils. I've started working on the eye, adding some more colour and sort of shading to it. And if I'm finding that if I go around in little circles like this, it's sort of smoothing it over and blending the colours, like blending them all together really nicely. I'm not sure how many layers I'm going to be able to get over this gouache on the photo paper, but I can go back in again with paints, what have you. Then I need to start adding little scales. I'll probably follow kind of what I've done here, where I've just got some little kind of circles fading away down the nose there, smaller scales here going towards bigger, more sketchy scales as I go down the body. But to me it feels like it makes sense just to get some more basic shading in first, then I might pencil in the outline of the scales, and possibly I'll need to go back in with paint again. So I'm going to carry on with the penciling and then I'll come back and show you again. It's still going to be a long video this, even though I'm only showing you highlights. Right, I've added some more shading and a bit more detail, whoops, on the bigger dragon and the egg. And now I've started to pencil in the scales, and I'm going to try this method that Sandra in the book that I showed you used. I'm trying to just moving it so that it's the graphite pencils catching the light. So you start off with a grid like this, and then in each of the little diamond shapes you put a scale, and that gives you a nice sort of pattern of scales. I don't want them all to be absolutely perfect scales, I want it to be a bit sketchy, so I'll probably rub some of them out once I put them in, but and I definitely need to get rid of this shiny graphite now, but I might end up just having to paint over again, but we'll see. It is going to be definitely a very many layered piece, this. I'm going to end up with pan pastels as well, I think, to create a kind of a misty effect, to blur these edges here and to go around the sun. So yeah, I'm gonna do the scales now, and I'll be back. Not at all anatomically correct, but I think it'll have an okay effect in the end. I did find I could lift some of the graphite very carefully with this putty rubber without taking the surface of the paper off or leaving the stickiness on. I think this yellow one is still very sticky. I won't risk using that again on this paper, but if I'm careful with this one I can. So what I'm going to do now is use one of the, not the darkest, but one of the darker shades of green, and start just sort of shading between each of the scales. By the time I come down to here, I want to be using this blue instead of the green, so I sort of will transition, and then I'll add a different colour to the middle of the scale and a lighter of each scale, and then the lightest colour of all probably on the edge. And this is where I might bring in some of the metallic ones here and there. I just can't quite decide, because the way it reflects the light, it means they're going to look, I think if I do that I've got to make sure they're the ones that would reflect the light source. So yeah, I'll do that. So I think you can see what a long, painstaking process this is going to be, and I'm not going to make you watch that. I'm going to come back when all of these scales are done. Well, that did take a really long time, but I'm really happy with how the scales have turned out, and I've added an indication of scales here, sort of smaller scales, and just did some little kind of circles down there and along here, which kind of helped to add a bit of kind of shading as well as texture, I think. So I'm just going to now do some very sketchy kind of scale effect on this smaller dragon, obviously not this level of detail, and then I just want to also add some shading to the wings, so that'll be coloured pencil again. And then I think the next step is going to be, I'm going to try my pan pastels on here, because why do I always say pan pastels? It was just my other pastels, I just say pastels. Pan pastels, pan pastels. Anyway, those basically pastels that come in a loose powder form in a I'll show you later, and I'm just going to use them to sort of smooth out some of this and blend this area into the original photo, because I really want to leave the original photo showing this bit and the sky and here, and I don't want to lose that original photo altogether. So I might add a bit. You can see that in the original photo there was kind of mist coming up here from the ground in the early morning, like it does sometimes, and I might just carry a bit more of that mist back over into here just to sort of blend them in together. And I kind of would like to make it look like as the sun comes up, the brighter colours are coming in here. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm watching a documentary about the old Fast show. Oh, it's still funny, they're still good as people. So I'm watching that, and I'm just going to go through and add some shading. So these wings I probably just need, I'll probably only need those 3 colours. It's all quite time consuming but really enjoyable. I love the way the colour pencils work over these gouache paints. Once I've done whatever I can do, I decide to do with the pan pastels, I can go back over those again with the colour pencils, and then I can put some of this lovely foliage back in, and I will need to give it some fixative, and then I'll be about done. So there we go. I think you can see the gist of what I'm going to be doing. I'll come back when I'm ready to start with the pan pastels. Right, I think I'm done with my coloured pencil work for now, so I've brought out my pan pastels, and this is the set that I keep together for portraits, but obviously use it for other things as well. I need my manky rag that I've got, only touched the box that I've already got. You can lift these pastels with a putty rubber, as we call them here in the UK. Needed eraser to anyone else that you can see where it picked up that yellow. Yeah, you can pick up these pan pastels with a putty rubber normally, but I'm a bit worried about using it on this paper after that incident, so I'll try and avoid it if I can. So there's a black there, but I'm not sure I really want to use black. I might do, but at the moment I'm going to use this really dark, it's called burnt sienna. It says burnt sienna extra dark, because I think if you look at that, it's not black, it is a very dark brown, and that's a pretty good match for it. So I'm gonna use some of that. I don't think I'm going to be using those at the moment, although some of the yellow colours might end up coming out. Whoops. I might use the purple, but I might not. I don't want to go too mad on that purple. I didn't bring out all my tools. I don't want to use too big of a one. I use this little pointy one to start with, and then I've got all the little sponges that you put on. You just slip them on like that. They're a bit of an investment when you first get them, but once you've got them, they do last a really long time. Maybe start with this really, really dark brown and just see if I can merge this in a bit. And then I do want to have some light kind of mistiness coming across here, and I can't put light over dark with the pan pastels really, so I do need to be mindful of that. I'm just going to start with this and see how it goes on this paper as much as anything, and how it goes over the gouache. Pretty good actually. That's pretty good, isn't it? love these pan pastels. I had to go and buy myself some more fixative today because I'd run out. I'm not going to go any further up there because I'm going to bring the lighter colour in, I think. Yeah, that's going to work a treat for what I want to do, I think. Yeah, I'm hoping, yeah, this should just allow me to just kind of blend into the original photo again, I think. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, I won't be able to go over this with the white, so I need to put the lighter in now first. Fingers crossed this will do what I want it to do. And I could have a bit more mist rising around here if I wanted to make it a bit, but I don't want to get carried away and cover too much of the photo, that's the thing. I also wondered if I can do something to cover up this smudge here that I couldn't get off. You know, just kind of a sort of wispy cloud maybe with this colour or this. These are meant to be kind of skin tones. I mean, it's brilliant. You can pretty much mix every skin tone and hair colour that you want from this palette. That's why I keep them all together like that. I think I bought most of these as one big job lot from this lady on eBay, and then I bought a portrait set separately and added to it the black and this red colour that I love using for hair. You can actually mix these colours up on the palette, which is accidentally happening there. Right, so I'm gonna keep on working on this, trying to blend this out, build up layers of my pan pastels, and it will help me to smooth out the texture. Like I like the texture in certain places, but I don't really want that texture around the fish there. I want that sort of fading away into a darker colour. So yeah. Right, so I'm going to keep working on that, and next time I come back I will be almost done. Right, I finished putting my mist in and darkening up this area down here. I used a little bit of purple but not too much. It was mostly that extra dark burnt sienna. And I think I've sort of managed to merge it into what's left of the original photo, which I really wanted to be able to do. I've also managed to cover up that smudge there a little bit. I might just put a bit more on that. I did find that, interestingly, rather than just using a white for the mist, it just popped a bit more and looked a bit more solid. I've used this very light kind of yellowish white, and I could just add a very tiny touch of that of one of these very bright yellows, just to show it's catching the light, but I'm a little bit scared of doing that. And then just a bit of this pinkish skin colour as well. And that's covered up those couple of smudges, so I'm pleased about that. So all I've got left to do, I put some of this some of the pan pastel around the sun as well. The colour of that sun has changed so many times during the course of this painting. And I put a little bit in the eye as well. So tomorrow I've got one last thing to do, which I don't think will take me too long, which is just to use I'll find a really dark sienna kind of colour pencil and put this foliage back in. Look at the colour. I must be careful not to get my fingerprints on there. If that doesn't work very well, then I might use a pastel pencil instead. I'll see how that goes. And then I need to get some fixative on there. I'm gonna have to be really careful not to smudge until I put the fixative on, but I don't want to put the fixative first because I'm not sure. It's new fixative. I'm not sure how well the pencils will work over the top of it. So so that's why I'm going to stop now, because I'm a bit tired now. It's the end of, I've been out all day and I just yeah, I'm too tired now. I might go wrong. So I'm going to go off, wash my hands, come back to that fresh in the morning. Right, I'm ready for the final touches now. I'm going to be really careful. Like I said, I think yesterday evening, I'm a bit loath to put any fixative on this yet for the pastels, because I'm not quite sure how that will affect the ability to put pencil over the top. I tried yesterday to get some workable fixative, which I think means that it's made for being able to work over the top, but I couldn't find any. So anyway, so I've got this really dark brown. It's called Coffee. It's a pretty good match for that, this dark brown here, because in the original photo the background is lighter, and each kind of section of the what I'm using as mountains gets darker and darker towards the front, with this very dark bit right at the front here. So I've got that back now with the help of the pastels over the top of that paint layer, and now I just want to get some of this foliage in, and I'm hoping I can overlap that over the dragon's face and body a little bit and over the egg. So I'm going to have the photo reference up in front of me, and I've got these other ones that are already here as well that I can just use. So yeah, I might just darken up some of the ones that are actually there, just to make them a bit more definite. I love the way it's worked out that they're both kind of focused in on the egg, because I think it won't be long. It's just started to crack its way out, and I reckon it'd be a really thick eggshell. It's gonna have to work hard, poor little thing. Yeah, this brown seems to be working all right over the photo paper. This is one of the Artful pencils. I noticed in some cases there's like some of the undergrowth stands out light against the background, so I'm gonna so I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing that, and then I will come back and show you the final result. Right, I am done. Yeah, I'm really happy with that now. I finally got there. I like that you can still see the original photo. I didn't want to lose that altogether. Yeah, so now I'm just waiting to see what Chris thinks about it. I've sent them over a picture. So just as a little reminder, here's the photo that Chris originally gave me, and here's what I've done to it. Oh, I hope he likes it. So that is, yeah, that is done and dusted. Thank you I hope you enjoyed watching that process. I'm not quite sure how long that's going to come out once I've cobbled it all together, but hopefully not too long. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.